Welcome to the Stoic Philosophy, where we explore timeless wisdom for modern lives. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing, because here, we do not just talk philosophy, we live it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're giving everything in a relationship, but still feeling unseen? Or maybe you've tried so hard to meet someone's expectations, only to realize it was never enough? Perhaps you're in love, and yet you feel trapped, anxious, like you're constantly walking on eggshells. This is the quiet pain of modern love. We think love should complete us, fix us, fulfill us. We expect our partners to be our best friend, our therapist, our protector, our mirror, our everything. And when they fail to be all of that, as anyone would, we feel let down. We blame them. We blame ourselves. And deep down, we begin to wonder, is love always supposed to be this heavy? But what if love was never meant to carry that weight? What if we've misunderstood what real love actually looks like? In a world built on emotional intensity and constant validation, the Stoics offer something radically different. They don't tell us to stop loving. They teach us how to love, deeply, freely, without losing ourselves. And that's what this video is about. We're going to talk about what it means to love like a Stoic, not with coldness, not with distance, but with strength, with clarity, with calm. We'll explore how Stoicism helps us escape the trap of expectations and control and step into a love that is grounded, generous, and unshakable. We'll uncover the illusions we carry about relationships. We'll learn the principles that make love feel safe without being possessive. And I'll even share a few real-life stories that show how Stoic love can look like in the messy, unpredictable, beautiful reality of human connection. This isn't a video about giving up romance. It's about reclaiming it. So if you've ever wanted to love better, to love without fear, to stay grounded in your heart, even when relationships get complicated, then stay with me. This might change the way you see love forever. Because when we love like a Stoic, we don't stop feeling. We start feeling clearly. And that is where the real magic happens. Again, welcome to the Stoic Philosophy. If you find peace, insight, or clarity in today's video, please subscribe. Join this growing community of quiet strength. Now, let's dive into the first chapter. What modern love gets wrong? Chapter 1. What modern love gets wrong? Modern love often feels more like performance than presence. We live in a time where relationships are built not just in private, but on display, on social media, through couple aesthetics, in grand gestures captured on camera. And in all that noise, we often confuse how love looks with how love feels. We're trained to ask, how do we appear together? Before we ever ask, how do we grow together? We seek intensity instead of intimacy. There's a craving for the spark, the passion, the whirlwind, but sparks burn out fast. What lasts is often much quieter, much simpler, and that's where many of us get restless. We equate love with adrenaline, with dopamine. We forget that true intimacy is not always thrilling. It's often steady, kind, silent, safe. But safe love rarely gets the spotlight in today's world. Expectations quietly poison our connection. We don't even notice how much pressure we place on the people we love. We expect them to always understand us, to never trigger us, to say the right things, to read our minds. And when they don't, we spiral. We assume they don't care. We assume we're not meant to be. But what we're really doing is outsourcing our inner peace to another human being, and no one can carry that weight forever. Romantic love is often confused with emotional dependency. Many of us were taught subtly that love means needing someone, that if we don't feel broken without them, it must not be real. But that's not love. That's attachment. The Stoics would say, you were whole before they arrived. You must remain whole even when they leave. Love should enhance your life, not replace it. Control is dressed up as care. In relationships, it's easy to confuse control with love. We try to shape our partner's choices, what they wear, who they talk to, how they express themselves. We justify by saying, I just want what's best for them. But beneath that desire is fear. Fear of losing them. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being hurt. The Stoics remind us that real love honors the autonomy of the other. You cannot love someone and try to possess them at the same time. We don't teach emotional sovereignty. We think it's romantic to say, "You make me happy," or "You broke my heart." But both imply we've handed over our emotional state to someone else. Stoicism teaches us the opposite. No one else is responsible for your inner peace. Not your partner, not your parents, not your past. You are. And when two emotionally sovereign people come together, that's when love becomes a shared journey, not a silent war. Conflict is feared, not faced. Modern couples often avoid conflict because it feels like failure. We think if we fight, something must be wrong. But disagreement is part of love. What matters is how we face it. Do we blame? Do we withdraw? Or do we listen, reflect, respond with calm clarity? A Stoic lover isn't afraid of hard conversations. They lean into them, not to win, but to understand. Validation becomes a form of currency. In many relationships today, we exchange love like a transaction. If you notice me, I'll feel valuable. If you text me first, I'll feel wanted. And when those things stop, we panic. We forget self-worth is an inside job. A Stoic doesn't demand constant reassurance. They know their value. They show up to love, not to be validated, but to give, to build, to be present. We chase perfection instead of patience. We want our partners to heal fast, grow fast, adapt fast. But growth is not linear. Healing takes time. And love, true love, is deeply patient. Not passive, not enabling, but patient. It holds space. It doesn't rush the other person into being who we need them to be. It supports who they are becoming at their own pace. Fantasy keeps us from facing reality. Movies, books, even TikTok. They've painted a version of love that's all fireworks and soulmates. And when real love doesn't look like that, we get bored. We question the relationship. We think something's missing. But what's missing is the grounding, the real, the unfiltered. Stoicism pulls us back to what is. It asks, can you love the person in front of you, not the idea in your head? So what do we do with all this? We step back. We breathe. We begin again from a clearer place. The truth is, love isn't broken. Our expectations are. And once we see that clearly, we can rebuild our relationships on something far more sustainable. Mutual respect, calm presence, and emotional responsibility. And that's what we'll dive into next. In Chapter 2, we explore what it really means to bring a Stoic mindset into a romantic relationship. Not to shut down your feelings, but to channel them. Not to control your partner, but to strengthen yourself. Let's keep going. Chapter 2, Stoic Principles and Romantic Bonds. Love for Stoic begins with clarity. Before the Stoic heart opens, the Stoic mind observes. Not coldly, not with detachment, but with clarity. Love is not blind. Love is not impulsive. Love for the Stoic is a conscious decision to witness another soul as they are, not as we wish them to be, and to walk beside them with steadiness, not possession. You do not own the person you love. One of the most powerful principles in Stoicism is the understanding that we control very little, not even the ones closest to us. You cannot demand that someone love you a certain way. You cannot dictate their growth, their thoughts, their timelines. Stoic love does not suffocate. It liberates. It says, I love you as you are, and I trust who you are becoming, even if I cannot control the path. Emotions are not enemies, but signals. There's a common myth that Stoicism means emotional suppression, but the truth is much richer. The Stoics never said, feel nothing. They said, understand your feelings before they direct your actions. When you feel jealousy, fear, or longing in love, it doesn't mean you failed. It means there's something to reflect on. Feel it, observe it, then ask, is this emotion guiding me toward wisdom or away from it? Love is the daily practice of virtue. Stoic love isn't built on grand gestures. It's built on daily discipline. Patience when you want to snap. Honesty when it's easier to avoid. Presence when you feel distracted. You don't love someone just in the highs. You love them in the in-between, in the dishes, in the quiet, in the growth. And that love, slow, consistent, respectful, is what creates safety and longevity. The Stoic asks, what is within my control in this moment? You cannot control if someone texts back. You cannot control if they understand your love the way you want them to. But you can control how you show up, how you speak, how you respond when things get hard. Stoicism gives you the space between feeling and reaction. And in that space, you reclaim your dignity. Attachment is not the same as commitment. We confuse them all the time. Attachment says, I need you to be okay. Commitment says, I choose to walk with you, even when things are not okay. One is based in fear, the other in freedom. The Stoic does not cling. The Stoic commits from a place of strength, not desperation. Freedom is the foundation of Stoic love. Real love cannot bloom in control. A Stoic partner doesn't try to trap you into love. They invite you into it, every day with their actions, with their presence, with their boundaries. You are not there to complete them. You are there to complement them. You are both whole, and that's what makes the connection powerful. Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to respect. Stoicism is clear about one thing. You must protect your peace to protect your relationship. That means knowing when to say no, when to take space, when to pause a conversation. A Stoic relationship isn't always smooth, but it's guided by the principle that no connection is worth the loss of your inner freedom. Love does not mean agreement. It means understanding. Stoic lovers don't need to be right all the time. They care more about understanding than winning. If there's a disagreement, the Stoic asks, what truth might I be missing here? What fear might be showing up in them? It's not passive. It's powerful. Because listening with presence can melt walls faster than any argument ever could. Love is tested in silence. The Stoic knows. Anyone can love during the good times. But who are you when the connection feels distant? When you feel unseen? When they're going through something you don't understand? That's when Stoic love comes alive, not through fixing, but through remaining. Remaining present, steady, kind, even in the quiet. So how does this all come together? It comes down to this. A Stoic doesn't love less. They love cleaner. Without the noise, without the chaos, without the illusions. They don't rush to define the relationship by external labels. They define it through shared values, through consistency, through grounded affection. Love, for a Stoic, is not a storm. It is a fire, slow burning, deeply rooted, and resilient against the winds of life. And in the next chapter, we're going to look at how this shows up in real life, through the eyes of people who've chosen this path. People who've loved with calm, not control. Who've stayed, not because of fear, but because of depth. Let's keep going. Chapter 3. A Stoic's heart does not cling. Clinging is fear dressed up as love. When we cling, it feels like we care deeply, like we're committed, like we're loving hard. But often, what we're really doing is grasping, out of fear of being alone, of being unchosen, of being unworthy. The Stoic heart sees through this. It recognizes that true love cannot come from fear. It must be rooted in freedom. The Stoic does not chase validation. If your love depends on how often they text, how quickly they reply, how much attention you're getting, that's not love. That's anxiety. The Stoic pauses, breathes, reflects. Is my peace depending on their response? If so, it's time to return to yourself. Because needing someone to reassure your worth constantly means you haven't built a foundation of self-respect. Freedom is the highest form of love. To love someone and still let them be who they are, even when that means they drift or grow, or take time, is a radical act of maturity. Clinging says, don't change. Stay close. Be mine. Stoic love says, change if you must. I'll love you honestly. I'll stay grounded in my values, no matter what you do. That is strength. That is clarity. The Stoic gives, but does not beg. You can give your time, your attention, your heart, but when it becomes begging for love, for validation, for connection, something inside you starts to break. The Stoic draws a quiet line. I will love you fully, but I will not lose myself for you. Because once you've given yourself away, There's no love left to offer, only fragments. Letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. We often hold on because we fear regret, or emptiness, or the pain of loss. But the Stoic understands that nothing truly good can be forced. If it's slipping away, if it's becoming heavy, if it no longer aligns with your deeper values, you can release it, not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with grace. And when you do, you clear space for a deeper peace. The more you cling, the more love turns into control. It starts small, a comment about who they text, a raised eyebrow at how long they stayed out. But control never stays small. The Stoic knows that the need to possess will eventually poison the connection, so they choose instead to trust. And if trust is broken, they do not chase or punish. They simply walk away, with dignity intact. Presence is more powerful than possession. The Stoic doesn't try to own someone's time. They value presence, deep, undistracted, intentional time together. 10 honest minutes with someone who is fully there with you is more nourishing than hours with someone who is only halfway paying attention. The Stoic shows up fully and asks the same, but never demands it. Boundaries are an act of love, not distance. Clingers fear boundaries. They see them as rejection. But the Stoic sees boundaries as the framework of a healthy connection. Knowing what you're okay with. Knowing where your peace begins and ends. That clarity protects both people. It says, I love you enough to be clear. I respect you enough to be honest. No games. No guilt. You are not their savior, and they are not yours. It's easy to fall into the trap of trying to fix or be fixed, of making someone the solution to your wounds. But the Stoic refuses to make someone else their emotional project. Love is not about rescue. It's about walking side by side. I see your pain. I honor it. But I know that your healing is yours to own, just like mine is mine. The Stoic heart hurts, but it does not lose itself. Let's be clear. Detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. You can grieve the loss of someone deeply and still choose not to beg for them back. You can miss them terribly and still keep your standards. Stoicism doesn't erase your humanity, it sharpens it. It says, feel the pain fully, but do not let it define who you are. This chapter is not about closing your heart. It's about opening it wisely. Because when you stop clinging, you give love a chance to breathe. You allow it to be chosen, not coerced. You allow it to grow, not shrink. You allow it to become what it was meant to be. Not a prison, but a partnership. In the next chapter, we'll explore how this kind of love looks in real life, through moments of heartbreak, quiet strength, and the kind of romantic wisdom that only comes from living it, not just talking about it. Chapter 4. Real Stories of Stoic Love. Love is not a fantasy. It is forged in quiet moments. In a world that sells us fairy tales, Stoic love is refreshingly grounded. It is not loud, flashy, or dramatic. It does not scream forever on day one. It simply shows up with patience, with presence, and with purpose. And nowhere is that more visible than in real stories. Not grand, Hollywood-style romances, but the small, powerful decisions that define love lived with Stoic clarity. Story 1. He let her go, not because he didn't care, but because he did. A man in his 40s, let's call him David, had been with his partner for almost 5 years. She was brilliant, driven, but constantly chasing something. Promotions, praise, perfection. Their connection was deep, but there was no peace. Every disagreement turned into a power struggle. Every silence became an emotional minefield. David loved her deeply, but over time, he realized that love had turned into dependency. He was always trying to fix things, to make her happy, to keep the relationship afloat. One morning, after another night of silent tension, he sat her down and said, I love you enough to stop holding you hostage in a story that no longer fits us. He let her go, not with anger, not with resentment, but with grace. He returned to his center. He chose clarity over chaos. That to him was real love, a love that honored her path and his own peace. Story 2. She stayed, but stopped controlling. Julia, teacher in her 30s, had been with her husband for 10 years. They loved each other. but his introverted nature often made her feel neglected. She used to push, wanting him to talk more, open up more, be more. Until one day, after reading Marcus Aurelius and meditating on Epictetus' idea of control, something clicked. She realized she had been loving her husband through the lens of who she wanted him to be, not who he actually was. So she changed. She stopped trying to shape him. She started seeing his quiet loyalty, his small consistent acts, the coffee every morning, the way he always picked her up on time, the way he listened without interrupting. Their relationship didn't transform overnight, but it got quieter, stronger, more real. She started loving him as he was, not as a project, but as a person. And in return, he slowly opened more, not because she demanded it, but because he felt safe. Story 3. After the betrayal, he chose integrity over bitterness. Michael discovered his partner had been unfaithful. The shock was devastating. The first instinct was to lash out, to shame, to destroy. But he paused. He remembered a quote by Seneca: "The greatest revenge is to be unlike him who did the injury." So instead of spiraling into revenge, he took a breath. He wrote her a letter, not to win her back, not to hurt her, but to say what needed to be said. He spoke with honesty. Calm, pain, yes, but also clarity. Then he stepped away, blocked no one, gossiped to no one. He simply moved forward. In the months that followed, he began journaling, reading the Stoics more deeply, going on walks without his phone. He built his own peace, one step at a time. When people asked about her, he didn't speak with venom. He spoke with truth. It broke me, but I'm healing, and I still choose peace. That, to him, was his proudest moment of love. Not what he gave her, but what he gave himself. Story 4. Stoic love in a 40-year marriage. Not all Stoic love is born from breakups. Some of it is carved through time. Claire and Thomas had been married for 4 decades. They were not flashy. They didn't post couple selfies. They rarely even held hands in public. But they were always there, at each other's side, in every moment that counted. Their secret? Respect, boundaries, and a shared agreement. We will never yell. They didn't run from conflict, they faced it. But they did it with calm, with listening, with space. When Thomas was diagnosed with cancer in his 60s, Claire didn't collapse into fear. She leaned in, not with panic, but with presence. "I don't love you because I need you," she told him. "I love you because you are you, and I choose you every day." He cried when she said that, not because it was poetic, but because it was real. That, they believed, was Stoic love, not the absence of hardship, but the presence of quiet loyalty in the middle of it. These stories are not perfect, but they are powerful. They reveal what Stoic love actually looks like, not in theory, but in action. It is not cold. It is not distant. It feels deeply, but it is not controlled by those feelings. It loves fully, fiercely, but never loses the self in the process. Stoic love does not demand. It invites. It says, "I want you, but I don't need to own you. I love you, but I also love my peace. I give, but not at the cost of my soul. I stay, but never by force. And if I must leave, I leave with grace, not to punish, but to honor what was once beautiful." Chapter 5. Practicing Stoic love daily. Love is not sustained by grand gestures. It's sustained by daily discipline. We often imagine love as something fueled by emotion alone. Those sweeping moments, the butterflies, the passion. But emotion fades. Circumstances change. What endures is not how loudly you love on your best days, but how calmly and consistently you show up on your hardest ones. That is where Stoic love lives, not in fireworks, but in firewood. Daily acts, small efforts, habits that keep the bond warm, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Practice stillness before reaction. One of the simplest, yet most powerful practices of Stoic love is this: do not respond in heat. When something your partner says triggers you, when you're misunderstood, criticized, or ignored, pause. Do not fight for dominance. Fight for clarity. Step back and breathe. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That applies in love too. You are not responsible for what your partner says or does, but you are always responsible for how you respond. Reacting with calm instead of chaos is an act of love, both for them and for yourself. Start each day with intention. Before diving into the routine, take 2 minutes of silence. Ask yourself, how do I want to show up in love today? Not how your partner should treat you, not what they should say, but how you will bring your best, regardless of the chaos around you. This morning ritual shifts the frame from demand to discipline. It places the responsibility where it belongs, within. Loving like a Stoic is not about being cold. It's about being clear. And clarity starts with intention. Journal your emotions, not your partner's faults. When things go wrong, it's easy to point fingers. But instead of blaming your partner, sit down and write about your own reactions. What did you feel? What story did your mind create? What assumptions are you making? Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." When you journal, you slow down the imagination. You see the story clearly. And often, what you find is this: your anger had more to do with your wounds than with their words. This practice does not erase their faults, but it helps you respond from self-awareness, not self-righteousness. And that, over time, creates space for real growth, both in yourself and in your relationship. Let go of needing to win. So much tension in relationships comes from needing to be right, to have the last word, to prove your point. But what if love was not about winning? What if it was about understanding? Epictetus taught, "It is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." In love, this means letting go of ego. Your partner forgetting a text or speaking harshly is not a personal attack. It's a moment, a symptom, a chance to listen, not argue. Winning the argument, but losing connection is not strength. It's pride. And Stoic love knows this. The relationship matters more than the moment. Seek harmony, not victory. Honor your partner's autonomy. True love doesn't smother. It gives space. It celebrates the other as a full person, with dreams, fears, flaws, and independence. This can be hard, especially when you want closeness, when you crave assurance. But real love lets the other be. It supports without clinging. It helps without hijacking. And most of all, it respects that each person must walk their own path. Every day, ask yourself, am I honoring who they are, or projecting who I want them to be? The answer will shape everything, because Stoic love never tries to mold. It meets the other as they are, and loves them there. Practice presence without performance. You do not need to perform for love. You do not need to be perfect, poetic, or endlessly exciting. What your partner needs most is your presence. Real presence. Not scrolling next to them on the couch, but listening when they speak, looking them in the eye, sitting in silence together without reaching for distraction. Love deepens not through constant entertainment, but through attention, through making the other feel seen. Stoics practice presence as a form of power, to be fully where you are, and with who you are, without rushing away. This is love in its rarest form. Accept change as part of the deal. Nothing stays the same. People grow. Feelings shift. Circumstances evolve. And if you cling to the way things used to be, you will suffer. Stoic love embraces this truth. It says, I am not here to hold you still, but to walk with you as you change. And I will change, too. Together, if we are honest, we can continue to choose each other. And if one day we must part, we will do so with grace, because our love was never built on control. Daily, remind yourself, this person may not be here tomorrow. Not to scare yourself, but to appreciate them now. To love without assumption. To give without a hidden contract. That awareness makes every moment more sacred. Don't wait for crisis to choose kindness. It's easy to remember what matters when things fall apart. But Stoic love does not wait for loss to act with love. It practices now in the ordinary, in the way you say goodbye in the morning, in the small touch before sleep, in the way you answer, even when you're tired. Kindness, when practiced daily, becomes a rhythm, a trust, a strength that holds the relationship when the storm eventually comes. And it will come. But if you've trained your heart daily to respond, to respect, to remain present, you'll weather it together. Love is a discipline, not a feeling. And like any discipline, it is practiced one day at a time. You won't get it perfect. Some days you'll snap. Others you'll shut down. But the Stoic way is not about perfection. It's about progress. Start again each day. Show up with awareness. Lead with calm. And love, not as a condition, but as a commitment. Chapter 6, Final Message. Love that frees, not controls. True love does not grip. It lets go gently with grace. The greatest lie we've been told is that love must hold on tightly. That to love someone is to constantly monitor, correct, protect, and hover. But that kind of love, the one rooted in fear and control, does not build trust. It slowly suffocates it. Stoic love, in its highest form, understands this. You do not own the one you love. You walk beside them. You witness them. You offer your care freely, not to bend their path, but to support their journey. Control is fear in disguise. We often try to control what we fear losing. We micromanage because we are anxious. We become reactive when we feel uncertain. We try to shape someone else's emotions, behaviors, or choices, not because we are strong, but because deep down we are scared. But the Stoics teach that fear must be faced, not fed. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. When we love from fear, we seek to prevent loss. When we love from strength, we learn to accept it, and in that acceptance we find freedom, not only for ourselves, but for the one we love. You cannot control another's heart, no matter how well you communicate, how much you give, or how deeply you care. You cannot control whether someone else will love you back in the way you hope. That is a hard truth, but it is also a liberating one. The Stoic approach says, do your duty in love. Show up with honesty, with presence, with kindness, but let go of the outcome. You are not responsible for how another responds. You are responsible for the clarity and character of your own actions. This is not detachment. It is dignity. A love that holds space, not chains. Healthy love respects boundaries. There is a difference between closeness and codependence, between intimacy and intrusion. Love does not mean always being involved in every decision, every mood, every thought. It means trusting the other as an individual, even when their path doesn't match your own. Stoics practiced autonomy. They understood that each soul must walk its own course. In relationships, this means learning to love someone without collapsing into them, without trying to be their savior or their mirror. You are you. They are they. Love must honor the space between. Real love offers. It does not demand. When you truly love someone, you do not place conditions on their behavior in order to feel whole. You do not say, if you loved me, you would. Instead, you offer your love as a choice, a gift, not a transaction. Seneca once said, a gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver. Stoic love gives without needing a return, not because it is weak, but because it is full. That doesn't mean you accept mistreatment. It means you are strong enough to walk away without bitterness when needed, because your love was never rooted in control. Attachment is not the same as connection. Attachment says, I need you to be okay. Connection says, I honor your journey, even if it is not mine. We often confuse the two. We think loving someone means clinging to them, needing them to complete us. But Stoic love comes from a place of fullness, not lack. You connect because you want to, not because you are broken without them. When your love is grounded in virtue, in wisdom, patience, clarity, and care, you no longer fear disconnection. You simply show up fully and trust that the bond will remain not because it is forced, but because it is freely chosen. Freedom is the true test of love. Here is the paradox of Stoic love. The more freedom you give, the deeper the connection becomes. When someone feels free around you, free to be themselves, to express, to grow, they naturally feel safe. They return to you not out of obligation, but out of trust. Epictetus taught that we must focus only on what is within our control. And the only thing within your control is how you love, not how they respond, not how the story ends. If you truly want love that lasts, love in a way that allows the other to leave, but makes them want to stay. Your worth is not defined by who stays or goes. This may be the hardest truth of all, because we often build our identity around being loved, around being chosen. But Stoic wisdom teaches that your worth is innate. It is not dependent on external validation. It is not reduced by heartbreak. Love from your values, not from your wounds. When you do, even if a relationship ends, you walk away whole, not shattered, because you never gave away your dignity to begin with. Loving well is not about being right. It's about being real. We spend so much energy proving our point, defending our choices, trying to control how we are perceived. But in the end, the only love that matters is the one that was honest, grounded, humble. To love like a Stoic is to love clearly, to say what needs to be said, with calm, not chaos, to listen, to respect the silence between the words, to show up not as a perfect partner, but as a present one. That is rare, that is radical, and that is the kind of love that lasts. Let love liberate, not bind. The final message of Stoic love is this: love is not about possession. It is about presence. It is not about managing someone else's behavior. It is about managing your own response. Every day, you get to choose how you love, with fear or with freedom, with control or with care. Choose the kind of love that lets the other breathe, that says, I see you, and I do not need to hold you tight to feel safe. That kind of love, paradoxically, creates the deepest connection of all, because when love is free, it returns, stronger than ever, not as a cage, but as a home. Conclusion: a Stoic heart loves with strength. Real love begins within. Before you can love another well, you must first love from a place of wholeness. A Stoic heart does not seek to complete itself through someone else. It is already rooted, already anchored. It comes to love not with trembling hands, but with steady ones, offering, not grasping. Love that clings is love that fears, and fear is the enemy of freedom. The Stoics teach us to examine our attachments, not to eliminate love, but to refine it, to cut away the desperation, the control, the silent expectations. So what remains is love that is clear, calm, unshakable. To love like a Stoic is to be fully present, yet fully free. It means showing up in a relationship not as a manager, but as a mirror, reflecting truth, integrity, and patience. You do not force. You do not manipulate. You simply are, and you let the other be. And in that space of mutual respect, something rare happens. Love breathes. You become a safe place, not a cage, but a home. Not everyone will understand this kind of love. It may even be misunderstood as cold or distant. But the truth is, Stoic love is the warmest kind, because it asks for nothing, yet gives everything that matters. Clarity, peace, respect, presence. When storms come, a Stoic heart does not panic. It listens. It remains rooted. It speaks with intention. It remembers that no matter what happens outside, who stays, who goes, who understands, or who walks away, your dignity remains intact. That is the essence of Stoic love. Powerful, not forceful. Soft, not weak. Honest, not performative. So love with strength. Love with grace. Love without losing yourself. Because in the end, love is not about merging souls. It's about walking together, side by side, with full hearts, not half-formed ones. If this message resonates with you, if you're drawn to the wisdom of calm strength and steady love, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here, we explore Stoic philosophy not as a theory, but as a lived experience in relationships, in daily life, and in the quiet choices that define who we become. Hit subscribe, and let's keep walking this path with clarity, with courage, and with a heart that loves without fear.